All right, check the mic. Week 1, instant reaction. That's right. We do this every Sunday in between the games. Who needs football night in America? Sam and I are going live. Sam, what week 1? I forgot how hectic it is, and trying to keep up with everything. Where do you want to start with week 1?
Well, what's your favorite overreaction coming out of week 1?
Let's see. Packers, Super Bowl, Lions are terrible. Will be good. Something Aaron Rodgers related. 4 touchdowns, no picks. So Aaron Rodgers is as back could be. I think those are 2 good ones to start with.
Yeah, I think they're all like the same 3 games, right? But it's like either side of the result for those games. So I was writing down like what are the favorite kind of narrative overreactions that are going to come out of this week. I said Justin Fields or Aaron Rodgers is the truth, depending on who wins the game at that point, because it was
Yes.
like late in the fourth quarter, either side could have won in that ridiculous shootout, and whoever it is going to get all the hype. The other side is going to get forgotten about. But both those offenses looked pretty good.
They really did. That game went nothing like I had anticipated. I thought it would be a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical. I mean, the part about the Jets being feisty offensively, being able to run the ball a little bit and, giving some headaches to opposing teams, I thought we got that part of it. I didn't think they'd be as explosive and put that number, all those points up as they did. And then the Steelers defense, I was raving about them this entire offseason that the Steelers could have one of the best defenses, and they kept letting the Jets back in the game. It was the Steelers offense, but we should at least acknowledge, and by the way, we'll go through all of this for multiple hours tomorrow morning on our full show. But Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith, so far so good. I thought Arthur Smith, there was a lot of open receivers in this game, and I not taking anything away from Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying, a couple wide open touchdowns. They were all schemed up extremely well. The big question, could he play within this other system? And I thought Arthur Smith and Pittsburgh did a really nice job of scheming up some open throws here.
Yeah, Arthur Smith's offense was good. Aaron Rodgers played really well, and DK Metcalf was pretty impressive. And then Calvin Austin, out of nowhere, was the surprise package at wide receiver. Like, he made a couple of really nice plays there. He was the beneficiary of some of the schemed open stuff as well. But Calvin Austin's a talented receiver. Like, if Aaron Rodgers decides Calvin Austin is the guy he's going to develop some chemistry with randomly, that would be huge for the Steelers. Like, we've all been wondering where the second receiver is going to come from Pittsburgh. Will it be Roman Wilson? Will somebody else? Like, if Calvin Austin just randomly strikes up a connection with Aaron Rodgers, that could be massive.
He had 4 catches for 70 yards, including that not the game-winning touchdown, the final touchdown from Rodgers. They did a really nice job putting him in position to get behind the defense. So the Steelers won 34-32. Let's talk about this Packers-Lions game, because I think that's obviously going to be one of the biggest stories of the week. For those new here, we're not going to touch on every game here. The full breakdown is tomorrow morning right here on this YouTube channel, or in audio land, wherever you listen to Check the Mic podcast itself, 7 a.m. sharp. But Lions-Packers, man, look, the Packers were favored. Vegas knew something. But I still thought the Lions coming in were going to be, that they were a better team. And we're going to have more questions about the Lions. But, man, the Packers from start to finish looked like a championship-level football team.
Yeah, I mean, there's the 2 sides of it, right? So, number one, I think what a lot of people were right on is I think Micah Parsons and the additions that the Packers have made, and whether it's the additions they made or simply Jordan Love being healthy going into a season as opposed to injured almost immediately at the start of last season, I think it takes Green Bay from the kind of good, not great category a year ago to maybe great this year, maybe a contender. Forget the great and how we debate that. Like, there wasn't much between them and the top teams in the NFL last year. Micah Parsons is probably enough to bridge that gap on his own, and he caused all kinds of problems for the Detroit offense in this game. And a lot of it was against Penei Sewell, like one of the better offensive tackles in the NFL. So, Micah Parsons is a genuine game-changing type of player, and they were already a very good team. So Green Bay looking really good, I don't think should surprise anybody at this point. Then you've got, okay, now what about the sort of areas of potential concern we were highlighting in the offseason for Detroit, right? Did we see signs of coordinator change and also that interior of the offensive line that's had a complete overhaul, unexpected turnover in addition to expected turnover? Basically, the entire interior trio is different. And I think you saw some evidence that that's a problem already. The interior of that offensive line was pretty messy. I think you also saw some evidence that this offense was not usually where it was. In the red zone in particular, they melted down and weren't able to make the plays that we become accustomed to seeing from them until, late in the game. So all of a sudden you're looking at this and you're like, well, we were maybe a couple of things that could go wrong for Detroit this year. I mean, at least in week one, I think there was evidence that they both might be problems.
Somewhere along the line this offseason, maybe reasons for concern or whatever it may have been, Frank Ragnow retired, and we brought up the fact the on-off splits without Frank Ragnow did change the Lions' run game and their offensive production. And you usually don't have the offense at the mercy of the center. Never mind, even a star receiver sometimes doesn't affect the offense that much. But after 1 week, when David Montgomery's averaging 2.3 per carry, Jahmyr Gibbs averaging 2.1 per carry, Jared Goff facing pressure on some key downs here, it is a cause for concern, in addition to obviously the coordinator changes that we did discuss a ton this offseason. So I don't want to overreact to that from a Lions perspective, but I think it's fair to give proper credit to the Packers that, man, the receiving core, Jordan Love looked good. Mike T, our boss, picked Jordan Love as an MVP candidate, and he's very much in the mix here. Buy that Jordan Love MVP stock because he looked good, man. He looked good early on. Got away with some. There was a couple lucky plays in there from a
at least
negated interception and another dropped interception that he got away with that didn't show up. But early on, Jordan Love in this offense was really on fire, and they did a good job spreading the ball around to all those various receivers. Where else do we want to go here? The
other big
Bengals?
The other big game with narratives, I think, is the Colts and Dolphins. Like that. You got Danny Dimes looking like a top 10 draft pick. And then you got the Miami Dolphins who, like, it was getting so silly all the way through the offseason. The vibes around Miami have just been bad. And then in preseason and training camp, it was even worse. And we were hearing horror stories about how every time they joined practice with somebody, they were getting wrecked. And like, we made such a big deal out of it that it was almost like, are we going overboard here? Like, are we putting too much into all this? And actually, Miami has generally been very good at starting, hot with under Mike McDaniel, and they'll get to the regular season, they'll be fine. This looked like every single story you've heard about the Dolphins this offseason in terms of bad vibes, bad everything. It all rolled into one. It was just a nightmare from start to finish, and they just got absolutely shellacked.
So let me just talk Dolphins because you brought it up first, right? We always get credit. You get criticized sometimes if you don't give proper credit. Let me give proper credit to the Colts in a second. But if you said, hey, the Dolphins, we have concerns about the offensive line and physicality and the secondary, those were all valid concerns. But I still thought that Tua to Waddle and Hill would be okay, that would keep them close. But, man, that wasn't even firing today. Tua was it looked like rookie year, second year type of Tua, not seeing the field. His very first interception, overthrow over the middle, where remember when he first got into the league, he felt like the arm wasn't good enough in the NFL. He felt like he wasn't seeing the middle of the field all that well. Then he became a master with Mike McDaniel, hitting that deep in cut. Everything was off for this Miami offense. And that, so credit to the Colts for causing that. But Miami, the couple things that they could even rely on, it wasn't even there. So, yeah, it was a rough offseason for Miami, carried right into the week where, they were pretty much, beaten by 4 touchdowns by the Colts. And yeah, Daniel Jones looking good and efficient. Tyler Warren looks like an absolute difference maker, Sam. Every time you talked about him as a top 10 pick in the draft, maybe you were right. He looks like a difference maker. Run game and pass game. Daniel Jones comfortable with a whole bunch of weapons, and the Colts defense playing great.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Warren looks fantastic. Yeah, the Colts, this is a good team. I mean, we were saying that throughout the offseason, like, okay, the quarterback competition, didn't make anybody feel great, but whoever wins it is in a great situation. This is why, it was such a big deal for them, because they've got weaponry on offense. They've got a pretty good offensive line on paper. They've got a run game that can make noise. And apparently they've got a defense that can make some plays as well, albeit, against the Miami Dolphins offense. But like, Daniel Jones showed that playing Daniel Jones style football, right? Which is not necessarily hyper aggressive, but he can be efficient and make plays. And there were some big plays in there as well. So, I mean, this was best case scenario for the Colts. Danny Dimes goes in there and actually plays some of his best ball.
He even got a 36-yarder to Alec Pierce, who always creates big plays no matter who the quarterback is. So, yeah, very impressive week one by the Indianapolis Colts, 33-8 over the Dolphins. Maybe the best game, Tampa Bay 23 over the Falcons 20. You had Michael Penix Jr. with the go-ahead touchdown late in that game, stretching out, barely getting over the goal line, just like he did for Indiana back in 2020, Sam, if you remember. Maybe the closest play I've ever seen in history. Michael Penix Jr. reaching for the pylon to beat Penn State. And then Baker Mayfield comes back with an absolute dime to Emeka Ibuka for the game winner. Ibuka, 2 touchdowns for the rookie first rounder who looked outstanding right away.
Yeah, interesting game. Good, really good game, as you said. Maybe the game of the week. That the whole ending sequence of this game was kind of fascinating. Like, I think you're going to see this weird now shift in how teams approach late games because these field goals are like, there's no limit to how far you can attempt a field goal from. Like we saw Chris Boswell for the Steelers hitting one from 60 that probably would have been good from 70. You know, that 70-yard field goal in preseason is not going to be a fluke, which changes the math at the end of games. Because now if you are worried about, like, do I go for it in this 4th down situation or do I, kick it away or try the field goal? Well, number one, the field goal can be attempted from miles away, but it means, like, if you're asking your defense to hold, they have to hold them to almost nothing. They can't give up anything because if they get to halfway, there's a field goal attempt in it. Also, it means if you go for a 4th down situation, you don't get it, and they score, like, you only need to get to halfway before you can answer with a field goal as well. Like, it messes the whole math up. And so Atlanta late in the game were like taking shots. They weren't even interested in the field goal. They were trying to score the touchdown. And honestly, Antoine Winfield Jr.
But in part too, because Younghoe Koo was very inconsistent last year too, and we saw, he misses a game-tying field goal. There was some bad kicking today, even though, like you're saying, the ranges are longer. But there was some bad kicking around the NFL today.
But it felt like Koo's the type of receiver, or the type of kicker rather, that's had, a long history of kind of good play and then kind of forgot last year the way all kickers seem to. I would have assumed they would have thought he's reset himself, but then he goes and misses the key one late on. But Antoine Winfield Jr. saves a touchdown that would have won this game for Atlanta. I mean, they took another shot to win. The ball was there. Jamel Dean was lying on the floor, and Antoine Winfield just gets across to break it up to stop a touchdown instead of a field goal shot. Then they end up missing the field goal shot.
So that was a great game. Again, we'll touch on every single game in incredible detail, as we always do. 7 a.m. tomorrow on Check the Mic right here on the YouTube channel. I wanted to touch on the Bengals finally winning the Week 1 game, even though they tried to lose it. The Browns missing an extra point, missing a 36-yard field goal. The Browns did everything they could to hand the game to the Bengals, despite everything that Cincinnati did this offseason to come out firing in Week 1. They had a good first drive, and then Joe Burrow still finishes with only 113 passing yards at 4.9 per attempt. How is this possible for Week 1 for the Bengals every year?
Yeah, apparently, starting in the preseason isn't the answer to their slow starts every year.
There's no answer.
Particularly because you're like, okay, sometimes, maybe it's a Joe Burrow thing. He just needs to get in rhythm. You would think what would get him in rhythm is starting well in a regular, it's not like, he got to the regular season and just couldn't find it. He found it right away. It was there. And then he lost it again. And then they stopped. It was bizarre. And not just the kick. So the Browns missed the kicks. The interceptions, I mean, both of them were the receiver actively threw the ball upwards at a defensive back.
So bad.
I've seen that happen rarely. Every now and again, every year or so, you're going to see a guy go for a ball and somehow bounce it back upwards. They did it twice in one game, and they were both turned over.
The other thing I wanted to highlight quickly, Pete Carroll with his first win as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and Geno Smith thrown for 362. We said this too. Geno has this level of aggressiveness and throwing the ball down the field. And the Raiders were up 1 score. And Pete Carroll at midfield. Pete loves to punt and play defense. Punt and play defense. Pete Carroll comes out, goes for it on 4th and 1. Geno throws it up. That may have sealed the deal for the Raiders. That level of aggressiveness from Pete Carroll on a 4th and 1 right around midfield. And that helped the Raiders go up 2 scores late in the game. Eventually, they win by 7. But the Raiders' offense, made some big plays when they really needed to.
They did. And look, Gino, because of that aggressive streak, is such a fascinating quarterback and a fun quarterback to watch play. The other two things, though, to come out of this game, though, for that offense, number one, Brock Bowers goes off like running a route and just sort of tweaks something and ends up like jogging off, looking gimpy, ruled out, I think, pretty quickly with a knee injury. But so far, the reports have been it's not bad. Like he says, it feels fine, and we'll see for week 2. It's not an immediate like, uh-oh, that's a problem. And then Ashton Genty ends up with what, like 2 yards per carry or something. That's not helping the relatively underwhelming preseason, albeit on incredibly small sample size stuff.
He was hitting remember how bad the Raiders run game was last year through 6 or 7 weeks? It was one of the least efficient run games of the last 25 years. Our friend Austin Gale would drop, futility stats for the Raiders. He was getting hit in the backfield quite a bit. He had that one really good run for the touchdown for Genty, but 2 yards per carry for him. Other things to keep an eye on. It sounds like, so the Giants lose, Commanders win 21-6. Commanders had this game in hand for the most part. Giants offense looked horrendous, or you could say the Commanders defense was great. Brian Daboll has not committed to Russell Wilson for week 2. So we've got Jackson Dart watch already in week 2. We were saying week 6, 7, or 8. We're already to it in week 2 here, though. So Jackson Dart, just keep an eye on it. George Kittle left the game early with injury. I can't list everything. In the Rams game, man, that was another the 2 of the 4 o'clock games, just to touch on quickly. Rams 14-9 over the Texans. Rams, another game where they're playing this ball control, trust their defense. The defense was incredible. They force a fumble late to seal it against the Texans. And then the Niners and Seahawks was just an ugly, like, who's going to make fewer mistakes? The Niners actually, I think, made more mistakes than the Seahawks. But in the end, Purdy throws one up for a game winner, and then Nick Bosa with the strip sack, essentially, to seal it for the Niners.
Yeah, Brock Purdy kind of felt, I mean, look, it's always difficult projecting this kind of thing, but it almost felt like a player who was trying to justify being paid $53 million a year. It's like, oh, now I'm getting paid the big bucks. Like, I got to go out there and carry the team. It's like, no, dude, just sit back and be like the cog in the machine, like the way you've been. Like, the thing that earned you the $53 million a year is how to keep justifying $53 million a year. Don't try and do too much, because, you're not Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like, you are Brock Purdy. And then so he was, I think, trying to force too much. Maybe you could say, maybe it was that. Maybe it was, look, I'm down George Kittle. I'm down, a bunch of players. I'm going to try and more is on me. I'm going to try and force it. And then, but that play late in the game to Tonjes or whatever his name is, like, that's the archetypal Brock Purdy play, right? It's like the called play isn't there. Late in the down, he starts scrambling, makes something else happen, ad-libs it, and just finds the pass in the back of the end zone. Okay, it still required the guy going up and, making a contested catch, but like, that's the Brock Purdy play. Like, that is where his best stuff happens. And he finally like made the key play even after like a whole game full of trying to overdo it.
And that ball is thrown right to Tariq Woolen before Tonjes with his 3rd career catch in his 4th year in the league. You never know what's going to happen. It's right up there in San Francisco 49ers week 1 lore with Garrison Hurst. If the kids remember Garrison Hurst with a 96-yard walk-off touchdown run back in 98, Sam. Remember that one? Anyway, it's week 1. I'm fired up. I'm excited. Can't touch on everything here. This is just our instant reaction. This is just right after the fact. We still have Bills-Ravens tonight. And then tomorrow, we're going live at 7 a.m. We'll touch on everything. Cam Ward's debut. We'll go game by game. We usually keep those shows to 2.5 hours, but who knows? Could become 3.5. We'll see how we feel. So enjoy Sunday Night Football. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Check the Mike Week 1 review.
We will. Of course, this stream will carry on for a little bit.